be just grabbing somebody and saying, like, okay, it's election time. We need Rand Paul to be the nominee of the Libertarian Party. But, I don't know, voter turnout or something? Most Americans know who Rand Paul is. Like, what's the game plan?
Okay, so for me, when it comes to bigger elections that the Libertarian Party does, you see a lot of work from the candidates. Okay, well, we're never invited to debates. It's almost impossible to retain ballot access for most of us. I mean, here in North Dakota, we just retained ballot access, and the funding to run a large campaign like that, you need the funding, and our fundraising efforts and getting the party behind one candidate that we would pick is incredibly difficult. I mean, you've got your clans, you've got your Vermin Supreme guys, you've got your John Mons guys, you had your McAfee guys. I mean, so there's no solidarity behind a decent candidate, I feel.
But is John McAfee running this time around for president?
I think he was. I believe he dropped out. I haven't heard a whole lot about him. I think he's still out somewhere on a ship.
Is that good or bad? Like with the no John McAfee in this election cycle?
I can't say really either way. I don't know how to feel about John McAfee. I'm not quite sure he's all there.
Well, for me, it's like, I don't know how you would respond to this, but I was just like, I feel that his message, whatever that may be, just gets tarnished so much because of things like statutory rape allegations, and people like bring up some stuff when he may or may not be a sexual predator. And I really felt that was just like bogging down whatever he was trying to say. I mean, because he seems to talk rather openly about his endeavors in Central America and such.
Right. But, you say that, and I agree with you. I certainly do. But isn't it interesting when it comes to the Democrats or the Republicans, you start mentioning, statutory rape or rape in general or any sexual misconduct, and it doesn't really seem to matter.
Well, look, Biden and Trump both have allegations against them, so what are we going to do? Get rid of both the Democrats and the Republicans? No.
Oh, well, for some reason, everybody fears that.
Well, Scott Adams wrote a couple books about that where he's just sort of like, Donald Trump had the ability to persuade the audience en masse. Like, he can deflect scandals like nobody else. And one of them was the whole, grab him by the pussy thing. And he says, it's just locker room talk. So it gets people thinking, wait, what does he mean by locker room talk? He completely shifted the conversation from is Donald Trump committing sexual assault to is he talking about something else? It's like, with Joe Biden, no, there's no excuse. I have nothing. I can't say a single praiseworthy thing.
No, and I can't either. And you can watch videos of his conduct in public.
Oh, you mean like the groping?
The groping, the sniffing. I don't understand how this gets so overlooked. Even the recent rape allegations, they're just kind of, the mainstream media just kind of dropped it.
Oh, what was her name? What was the name of the accused? Was it Tara Reid, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, that's the accusation we're talking about. Well, first and foremost, the coronavirus has taken, the top spot on all news. So I barely hear about Biden, and I barely hear about Trump unless he's talking about the coronavirus. But do you think it's just because a lot of Americans are not very involved with like the political system, and they might watch the evening news, and then that's the only window they have to who these candidates are?
I would agree with that. Most Americans, it's very rare that you will find Americans that are willing to get involved in the political process. They want to show up and vote and go home. And that would be nice if that's the way it could be. But, change happens when you show up. And I say this to small L libertarians all the time that want to see change and want to see things get better in the United States and focus on freedom and individual liberty. But most Americans, they don't want to get involved in the process. And I know for many libertarians, there's the argument that by getting involved in the process, you validate it.
Sure.
Well, if you don't get involved
many people believe that. Many people believe that is what I was just saying. But go on.
Right. But if you don't get involved in the process, how do you expect to change anything? Through nonviolent means, which is, as a libertarian, something I want to achieve. I want to achieve our goals without force or coercion. So if you want to do this in the political system a little bit.
Sure. Now, do you mind if I ask you, Dalton, how familiar are you with Stefan Molyneux?
Stefan what?
Stefan Molyneux. How familiar are you with him?
Not very. Like, I used to watch some of his philosophy videos every now and then just to see what they were about.
Well, he was very pro-libertarian for a long time, talking about more or less anarcho-capitalism. He has a video out called "End the State in 30 Days," and
right.
You know, he would have like nice little lines like, "We don't need rulers, we need rules, just no rulers." But then once again, he was much similar to the Alex Jones boat, when once the 2016 election came around, he started becoming very pro-Republican. But if you have anything you'd like to say about him, I'd like to listen.
You know, Stefan, or however you say his name, he got real Hoppian. Okay, so there was a focus on individual liberty and rules, not rulers. But what happened with Stefan, from what I noticed, is he went away from that should be for everybody, and he became a really big nationalist. And what he really focused on was society and not including diversity. His main argument was that diversity is not conducive to a society that sustains individual liberties. And to a lot of people, that's a popular message. Okay, and I think in a way he was selling himself, especially with the 2016 pro-Trump movement, where you saw tons of just this massive surge in socialism. Not that people aren't nationalists already, but I think he was selling himself.
But if I hear what you're saying, like, do you think that he didn't believe what he was putting out there about this nationalist stuff? Do you think he didn't believe it?
No, I think he did. I think what he started to do was look into it. He saw what was popular, what was happening, the movement that was happening, in my opinion. And not that I've watched him all that often, but I think he attempted to co-opt that himself to get more followers.
Okay, so you're sort of saying like he slowly became a follower of it himself. Then is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
So
I mean,
not like fraudulent, just learning about what's popular, more or less, huh?
Right. And I have met some Hoppian libertarians, and we disagree about a lot.
What is that, Hoppian? What is that? I'm not familiar with that.
He's a libertarian philosopher, and basically, if I can remember correctly, what he talked about a lot. He talked about the family unit, and, the cohesiveness of a society that, in his words, for a lack of better words for myself, I guess, a cohesive society would only exist if there was a lack of diversity in culture, in language, and from a libertarian standpoint, I don't see how you could make that claim.
Okay, but then some people are kind of going even to the extreme level on that, just saying that libertarians should not acknowledge anything like the state borders, meaning like the state, not states, but the state. They're just completely for open borders. Like, what would you say about that?
I have mixed feelings about closed and open borders. Personally, myself, I would like to see the United States go back to a sort of Ellis Island immigration.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, to immigrate to the United States or become a citizen of the United States, currently, I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's incredibly unlikely. It's going to cost you a ton of money, and it's going to cost you the amount of time. It's probably going to take you a decade.
Sure.
Unless you have some giant corporation sponsoring you.
Would you say our current system favors the wealthy then?
Oh yeah, certainly. I think most systems have, though.
Now, overall, like, how are the libertarians on the side of the working man more than any other party out there? Like, because it seems like you're kind of like laying out the framework that the Democrats and the Republicans are both on the sides of the wealthy, big business, and are the Libertarians the only party on the side of the common man? What would you say?
Well, I would have to agree with that. I mean, if we were anything like the Democrats or Republicans, you would see us on TV. Okay, so the top would be taking the special interest money and getting there.
But the Bernie bros are going to be like, hey, Bernie Sanders was on television. He's not getting into office. Well, not the presidency anyway.
No, and Bernie had he had a popular message with a younger group of folks that grew up in a world where the government had intervened so much in their life, like in corporations, in their education, that they knew nothing different. All they knew was that it was broken, it wasn't working, and they looked to a man like Bernie Sanders to save them.
Okay, but Bernie is no longer in the race now. So can I ask, out of everybody running for president in 2020, who would you want to win? Any candidate, any ticket, write-in, who would you want to be president for 2020?
Honestly, right now, I would like to see the Jacob Hornberger and Larry Sharp ticket.
Okay, I was just about to ask you about Jacob Hornberger because it seems like he has a high chance of getting the Libertarian nomination, would you say?
I think he does, yes. He won the straw poll in our state.
And he looks like he's doing well nationally. Like, what do you make of him? I mean, you just said that you would want him to be president of the United States, so you must think rather favorably, but why don't you talk a little bit about him?
What I appreciate about him is that he has been a stand-up libertarian his whole life. The organization he started, he's always been a part of the libertarian movement. He's principled. I don't believe he's a sellout. I think he lacks some finesse, and I think it's hard for him to grab the public's attention because a lot of his knowledge is dry. It's not excitable. One of the only issues that I do have with him was I was a big Harry Brown fan, even though I'm a younger man. I knew who Harry Brown was, and I wish that man was alive today. And him and Jacob were constantly at odds with each other. I don't want to dig into it too much, but I think Jacob did maliciously go out of his way to disrupt Harry Brown's campaign. So that's like a mark that I have against him.
Oh, so you think he's somewhat of a malicious politician, huh? Or he has it in him?
He definitely was malicious towards Harry Brown, certainly. Certainly.
Now, on the note about, maliciousness, what some libertarians talk about, and I think this is the most fascinating thing with libertarianism, and that would be secessionism. They view secessionism as an antidote to, the maliciousness of the political world, whether it's the concept of maybe a state or a county, or even someone is just going to say, I'm going to put a fence around my property that I purchased, and this is now going to be sovereign land. I'm going to secede from America. What do you think about libertarian secessionism?
I love it. I absolutely love it. I have 2 points that I'd like to make here. One is just an interesting side note. I actually knew a man, as I was growing up, he had legally changed his name to Chief Wannadoobie, that did the exact thing you're talking about with his own property. He seceded from the Union with his property. Now, whether he managed to legally accomplish it or not, I don't know.
Oh, but by calling himself a chief, you mean he said it's like Native American sovereign land?
No. He there's actually a story behind that. He was a big pothead, of course, and you don't name yourself Chief Wannadoobie. But his story was one day somebody said, "Hey, Chief, you Wannadoobie," and he decided that was going to be his name. Not that I thought he was all there.
Oh no, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, he did attempt to do that. There's actually a documentary out there on YouTube you can look up. He was an interesting man, to say the least. But as far as secession goes for the states, I think that's the best answer. I don't see a way to end this federal overreach without doing it. And I think even without seceding, within our lifetimes, we'll see a balkanization of the United States.
But one of the things that I often find the secessionists talk about is it's either about your own private property or it's about the state. What I don't really hear too many people talking about is county by county. And North Dakota, among some other states, is on the Canadian border, and there are so many counties that would have international borders on both sides. Like, as opposed to having just this territory, like say in Kansas, that would probably add in a few complications, I think it'd be very feasible at a county on the Canadian border.
Right. There is actually a small movement in North Dakota called Daxit, and its goal is for North Dakota to secede from the Union.
Oh, that's right.
I haven't had contact with them a whole lot. But I think as things move forward, after I have talked to the gentleman that started the movement officially, and he says there's a lot of sentiment for it from our own state legislators and many involved in local government. I don't think it's a popular thing yet. I think a lot of things are going to have to change for people to embrace that.
Well, when I talk to people about
I love the
secessionism, I
idea.
just find that people are very much like, I mean, I think for them it's just kind of like jumping in the deep end when they don't know how to swim yet. I mean, because some people are just kind of so overwhelmed with that idea. Like, how on earth could you just have a state secede and become its own country? I mean, we heard about Cal exit, but I mean, I think a lot of people are just still very overwhelmed by it.
Well, California couldn't afford to secede from the Union if they wanted to. So I think one of the prerequisites that you're going to need for secession to sell it to your local population, your state population, is your state is going to be able to need to run itself without like federal aid. Most states can't do that. Most people in other states across the United States depend on the federal government one way or another, be it through Social Security, rural benefit programs, SNAP programs, anything like that. And then you get to infrastructure. And so there's a lot of states in the United States that if they did secede, would owe the federal government such a large amount of money, I don't think it would even matter if they did.
Okay, but like, how would that be in context of what are some of the other things we talked about, like county by county or even yard by yard, like more like individual secessionism? That wouldn't be so much of a factor because you're one person on your own private property. You are self-sufficient, right?
I would agree. Yeah, I mean that would be fantastic. I think your first fight would be with the county.
Yeah. But what was that like? I'm trying to
long.
remember. What was the name of the tribe in Idaho? Was it the Kootenai tribe or something in like the 70s? They declared war on the federal government. It was a completely peaceful declaration. They're like, we want our Native American reservation back, and then the government granted it to them. I mean, I think about that one because it's like there are ways to go about that, like to actually have land granted to people, and it doesn't sound super impossible, compared to some of these other ideas, like in the state in 30 days.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea. I think it could be done. Now, as far as it goes on paper and legally, I don't know that it is technically legal to secede from the Union, and if it was, I think you'd have a similar replay of what happened in the 1860s.
Oh, you mean like if a state just left the Union? No, it's not legal.
No, it's not legal at all. And if they started to do it, the Department of Homeland Security would take notice immediately, and they would immediately become involved. So,
yes.
like, for me, as much as I like secession, it invites a lot of violence. And that's something as a libertarian I want to avoid, or even as a person.
Right. There are a few ways that people go about it, though. Like the Republic of Molossia, which isn't really secession; it's more like micronation theory. Had a very good answer to that, where it's like Molossia is the made-up name of a country, and this guy in America says he has declared his land sovereign. He pays the taxes, but he just calls it foreign aid to a different government, and they make money by selling little, Molossia passports, which are just a piece of paper. It says Molossia passport.
Right.
So, but they can function as an independent micronation. And I was like, I just thought that was brilliant. It's like, all right, it's not 100% what people were imagining, but I'm like, hey, count your victories.
I mean, it's a step in the right direction, in my opinion.
Right. But like what he said was, though, the government does not try and intervene with that, even though he has declared it sovereign, because he said as long as he is paying the quote unquote federal aid, or foreign aid, then it's protected under the U.S. Constitution, free speech and creativity and expression laws. So I was like, wow, like.
Yeah, I would actually. I'd like to see some more information on that.
Oh yeah, like micronations are really like interesting. That one was called Mollassia, Molassia, and in Australia they had Atlantium. They're all over the world. Like I mean, it's something that's going to get a little bigger.
Well, I guess I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you brought that up, and it worked. What do you think about the Free State Project?
The Free State Project? I'm not too familiar with that. What is it?
I believe the state is Rhode Island. Essentially, what it was a movement of people that wanted to move to a state that had access to the ocean, and then basically secede it. I don't know, like, if in name that's what they wanted to do, but basically what they wanted to do was to build a free society. Nicholas Sarwark was a part of that. He actually just moved across the country, the Libertarian national chairman.
Now, how exactly would that work? Would that be like on land, or would it be like the seascaping thing, which is in the ocean?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of that. I don't think that was their goal. I think their goal was to attempt to create a free state that had access to the ocean to enable international free trade.
Okay, so they would take the state of Rhode Island, but turn it into just like kind of a more more liberated state. What's that?
I guess a libertarian sort of. I mean, Rhode Island's pretty small, so I guess you could just call that a super large city-state.
I'm really quite curious how that would work, though, because the seascaping thing, I comprehend that completely. They're just like, all right, we get permission from the government to now just get to kind of grant this area of the waters where they can build a city on the ocean. That I could comprehend. I'm not really quite sure how this Free State Project would work. Do you think it's feasible? Like, it sounds like a variant of secessionism, is it not?
I would think that it was, but I mean, to me, I think the project was started almost a decade ago, and there has been no progress at all. So I don't know if the plan kind of fell apart, or if people just went back to their mundane lives and just agreed to live in the state. To be honest, I couldn't really tell you.
Well, on that note, I mean, it sounds a little bit difficult, though. If you're going to talk about these things like secessionism, I mean, what would really happen? Like, if you do declare your own property as private, and then are you going to get arrested as soon as you walk off of it for, like, treason or something like that? I mean, I think a lot of these boundaries haven't really been laid out yet, so I'm not really sure how.
I think.
Go ahead.
Surely you know about Ruby Ridge, right?
Yeah.
I think it would play out a lot like that, actually.
Okay.
Unless there was a large enough amount of people. And I mean a large amount of people.
Right, and we've done a couple uploads about Ruby Ridge here on this channel, Black Box Online Radio. Some links will be in the description box. Why don't you guys check those out? But that had some other legal implications in it, right? Like, some people duped a guy into committing a crime that he wouldn't have committed without the federal agents, and then he was almost trying to, like, protest it, right? And then the situation boiled over into some gunfire, and
You shot his son?
Yeah.
What would you do if somebody shot your son?
Well, exactly. Like, I mean, they're like, they pushed the guy into the corner, and then they yelled at him for standing in the corner. It's like, I mean, absolutely.
I mean, if somebody shot my son after I tried to leave everybody, I would shoot back.
I mean, like, people were just really mad because it was a completely unnecessary situation. If I recall, that way that went down is some guys asked a guy to create a sawed-off shotgun for them, and he didn't have a gunsmithing license. And then it turned out that guy was a federal agent who provoked him into a crime that he wouldn't have normally done. And then he's like, all right, you're getting arrested. And then he was like, what are you talking about? And
yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
I mean, like, that's why I think a lot of people do get really pushed to, frustration with the system. But do you remember one thing at Ruby Ridge that I said in some of my uploads where when you would see protesters, they were talking about everything. You would see signs like peace, love, and joy in the crowd. You see signs just saying freedom. It's not exactly left or right. It's not exactly just even libertarian. It's not secessionist. It's just like some people were like, hey, calling bullshit on what you guys did.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I agree. I mean, and the federal government agreed. I mean, Randy Weaver,
yeah,
he was acquitted of all crimes. I can't remember the settlement he got. I think it was $2 or $3 million. But you know, that'll never bring back his dead wife or his dead son. You know, and then it wasn't. It wasn't even 10 years later, and Waco happened.
Well, I think though, like as we mentioned with the micronations, why they don't even try to press the people is first and foremost they have a legal claim, but the second reason is they view them as so trivial that they aren't going to actually be causing some trouble. I don't know why the federal government thinks that some things like Ruby Ridge or Waco would need the extreme nature of what was going on. Waco does have some weird implications, but like you got to just wonder, like, what is the need for driving tanks into the building, running over innocent people, which you can even see on video.
Which incident was this?
Waco.
Waco?
There is a video of the tank going over a person. Yeah, it's like it's from the air.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I haven't seen that footage. I mean, most of my knowledge is, I mean, the long standoff that ensued. I mean, and even the story that was made up for Waco was ridiculous. Like a hand grenade fell out of a UPS package. Okay.
Yeah, that's normal.
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, you can just get grenades through the UPS. I mean, I'm sure you could actually.
We can try, but nah, probably not right now.
Probably not. I mean, probably be better off making your own. But anyway, I mean, I think things like Ruby Ridge and Waco were examples. And as much as I like to rally behind Ruby Ridge and Waco, I would rally more behind Ruby Ridge than Waco, because David Koresh was a twisted individual. He was doing things that weren't right. They weren't right. But, you know, the people did consent to that, and they stayed there of their own free will. So, I mean, the question is, what do you do then?
What does the government do, or what do us as observers do?
Society do?
What does the society do?
What do their neighbors do?
I think the complication was, and like if you just look at it as some kind of hypothetical they would throw out, is if people were being held against their will, which they weren't certain about, you know, they're like, wait a second, is he abusing people? Then they would try to intervene. But that was probably just kind of like going in half-cocked, excuse the expression, and you know, you fire a bunch of gunshots and then you ask questions, more or less.
Pretty much.
Now, Dalton, and we have about 2 minutes left, almost out of time here, so I would just like to ask you, can you just give one send-off about your message or how people can get in touch with you and how reach out to the stuff that you do, and just kind of give some conclusion right here?
Okay, for some sort of conclusion, anybody can reach out to me. My email is browndalton608@gmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook. My message to anybody that's interested in libertarianism is to get involved. You know, talk to your friends, talk to your family, but do more than that. Take a step forward. Form a local affiliate for your Libertarian Party, you know, or go to your state meeting, or show up to a protest, or any one of those. Start an initiated measure. Go out. Be involved. These things won't change if we just sit back and complain about them. And if somebody wants to get started and they have a few questions, I'm fairly new to this myself. I only got involved 2 years ago. Reach out to me and I'll help you in any way I can.
And can you say your email one more time then?
I'm sorry?
Can you say your email one more time?
Oh, sure. Brown Dalton, BROWNDALTON 608@gmail.com.
All right. Well, Dalton Brown, thank you so much for your time. And all right, everybody, and thank you for listening to this interview. And if you like this upload, you can hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, you're welcome to do so. But most importantly, please drop some comments below so we can continue the discussion. And that'll be all for us now. Until next time.